Hello, everyone. Welcome to another preview edition of, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, Chatting with Tyler. Welcome all. Please say hello in the comments so I know who's here. But yeah, good to be here. Good to be previewing Dynamite. It feels like it's been a long time since I did a preview show, so I apologize for that. But let's chat AEW Dynamite for December 7th, 2022. Coming off the heels of what I thought was one of the weaker, maybe not in the moment, some empty calories from last week's Dynamite, in my opinion. I've let them know, if you don't know, you can read my reports on pwtorch.com, and you can watch last week's Fireside Chat where we had the great Stephanie Chase joined us. So please, if you didn't see that already, please check that out. But did not like the MJF promo from a character standpoint, trajectory of AEW standpoint. I think it's, they're fighting uphill to make him a heel, and that's, I don't want to spend the whole time talking about this, but that's how I feel, and I think that's well known if you watch me. So if you do, thank you. If you don't, hey, welcome. But tonight, how do they follow that up? So I was on here popping in, MJF is overrated. I think you are early on this take, which is a good place to be, but I'm not going to say you're crazy, I guess, is where I am. So overrated is one thing. I think a lot of wrestlers get overrated. I think you need to reinvent yourself. If you're MJF and backstage, you've worked with Chris Jericho before. He's a good example of someone who knows when a shtick is over with. And it feels like we're at that point with MJF just now at his title run where something needs to change pretty drastically. Yeah, and the real top heel, Ethan Page, Jericho, and I would say even Christian Cage, if he was kind of doing what MJF did as well, but at least with Jungle Boy, he was getting that heat, which is why, I don't know why you would just not transplant Jungle Boy. We'll talk about that, I guess, with one of the things here. So, but agreed. And I guess if you want to count, who's the latest Dan Lambert type that was in there talking about, woke wrestling fans. Jeff Jarrett, right? He gets real heat as well. So I would put him up there with Page, Jeff Jarrett, then maybe Jericho, all before MJF, which is a problem when you're booking a guy as the top heel in the world, essentially, the way they booked him. So, but off my hobby horse there, because tonight I think we're gonna get minimal MJF. I think we're gonna get minimal John Moxley, as MJF has said. He will. He's on set for the A24 movie, and he's going to be there tonight and then go home to Long Island. So to me, yeah, hopefully it's not just for DK. Hopefully it's just him. No offense to DK, but hopefully everyone else can hear me. I'm looking at the comments here, but yeah, where was I? Oh yeah, but I think MJF will have a pre-tape tonight. I mean, it's announced that him and Moxley will both hear from them. I would not expect much. I think last week was a big angle in their mind, and we probably won't see MJF until he's taking on Ricky Starks next week at Winter's Coming. So, and then as Tracy comes in here, hi Tracy, good to talk to you as always. TK's call today shed some light on the messiness of recent booking. I've not been able to. I just got home and popped on. So I've not been able to see that. I know I saw some reports as I was getting the lineup for Dynamite here that he said he's only booked Ring of Honor, or he's not booked Ring of Honor on Dynamite except for Chris Jericho. I don't know when maybe that's last week he's counting that and going forward, or he's booked out the next 6 episodes of Dynamite, and it's not ROH focused, but I know Smojo headlined 2 Dynamites in a row, and I would say, they weren't necessarily ROH stories, but he's the secondary champion in Ring of Honor, so I think something to but I'm very interested to listen to that. I think, I love to poke some holes in the logic of everyone, and Tony Khan has just been the recipient of that recently more than anyone. So, his mom had 2 strokes. Great. So, makes me feel great now. And I mean, anyone, nothing ever said here against, anyone is a personal thing. That's why we talk about people's characters, and character as in who they play on screen, right? Not the human being walking around. And, so yeah, definitely thinking about him, his family, and all that stuff. And like I've said here before, I think Tony Khan and me would get along tremendously. in real life. And, that's just part of the job that I have here. I don't want to sugarcoat things. I want to tell you how I really feel and give you real analysis, but hoping his mom is doing better. I'm sure there's more. I don't know if he went into more detail there, but hoping the best for them. But that makes sense. Yeah. Regal wanting out, not really having that person to lean on creatively. Well, that's true. He's not playing a character, but what he does as an entertainment thing, like, you don't want ill will in anything, and hopefully it doesn't come across that way. But I just wanted to cover all my bases to make sure I was good. But yeah, and Sean is here as well. Sean, it's good to see you as well, and talk to you here. So cool. We got a good number of people in here. Thank you as always for joining me. Going to do a quick little rundown of what we are expecting to see tonight on Dynamite, our penultimate episode before winter is coming next week in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. That I know, who's not in the chat, but Zach from Texas will be there, I hope, to let everyone know how good the show was. I think is going to be my guest there. So we got Acclaimed taking on FTR. We've got Samoa Joe versus Darby. So the Acclaimed FTRs for the AEW title. Joe and Darby's for the TNT title. We've got Jade and the Baddies taking on Kiera Hogan plus Madison Rayne plus Sky Blue. Not the greatest team to tag with, I think, in AEW, but you'll see how that goes. We also have a Blackpool Combat Club versus JAS match. I know you've never seen it before, but here we are. We've got Jake Hager and Garcia taking on Claudio and Wheeler Yuta. And there, like I said, the rest there, we've got MJF talking. We've got Moxley talking, probably in a pre-tape, at least for MJF, as on. I think it was on. Mox will probably have a match on Rampage. Yeah, set something up there. Makes a lot of sense. And then we're also getting an interview with Jamie Hayter that she requested last week. Since Saraya got one on Rampage, she wants one on Dynamite, which I think, in kayfabe, that's great. I'd rather have the interview with 800,000 people watching me as opposed to 280,000. Or I didn't see the rating yet for Rampage last week, but I'm sure it was not good. So unless you all want to talk about MJF, Moxley's, like what we're going to hear from them, I think it's kind of fraught to think of, like, hey, what's their promo going to be? MJF is probably going to set up some, like, it'll be a video recap of what he did to William Regal, and maybe he'll see him in 2024 during the Great Bidding War, whatever. I think that's where I would see this going. With Moxley, him and Paige is not booked on the show. You're going to think that if he's talking, Adam Page would be involved in some way, shape, or form to get that cooking. I would think that those two would fight at Winter's Coming next week. So if you want to get that going, that's something to look for as well. And then with Jamie Hayter, she needs, you would think she needs an opponent either next week at Winter is Coming or the following week. They tend to have all the major titles get defended around that time. So maybe this interview leads to, you'd think her and Saraya are on a collision course, but is Saraya at a point where she can, you don't want to take it off Jamie that quickly, obviously, as well. So setting up her next opponent, who is that? Is it a Ruby Soho who just came back? That seems to make sense to me. So, and, she's not protected enough to, she seems like a good first opponent for somebody, especially coming back. But yeah, Willow as well, as Zahn points out, I think that would be great as well. I guess I think Willow has more upside long-term than I do for Ruby. I think, not that Ruby's not talented, but I think she's slotted where she's kind of going to be, where you can heat her up and have her in a good feud. If she were to take on Anna JAS in a feud, I would see Ruby winning that and getting it over and being, Eddie Kingston where you can be the crowd favorite, but maybe not going for titles a ton. And if you do, you're going to lose those titles more often than not. So I think with Willow, there's some more potential there with her being newer and having a good support base behind her from relative obscurity. The wider landscape. Obviously, I think a lot of people here have liked Willow for a long time. So I think the general audience seems to be more attached to her than even Ruby Soho at this point. So, yes, so we got all those. Unless you want to have anything in the chat, I can bring it up. But yeah, so let's go with I don't know. I like to go from least juicy to most juicy, right? So I think one tag team match is the least thing I'm excited for on tonight's card. And the other one is the one I'm most excited for on tonight's card, paired with what I think the main event. I think there's two really strong matches here. You don't have to. Not gonna take a rocket science to guess what those are, but let's start with Jake Hager and Daniel Garcia taking on Claudio and Wheeler Yuta. I would assume that Jericho is involved in some way, shape, or form. This is to set up Claudio and Jericho this Saturday for the ROH title. Pretty boilerplate here from a booking standpoint. You have a tag match to set up the person that is either going against, I'm just glad Jericho's not in here. That's very WWE, 2010 to 2021 booking to have that. So I think that is good. I'm worried that a vast majority of this match is going to be about Hager's hat again, which I think has been funny in backstage segments and on Twitter and things like that. So I'm not loving that being main part of his matches. I'd like him to be more of the badass character that you think he would be, and not just fighting over a hat. But we'll see. I think Daniel Garcia and Wheeler Yuta, obviously they have a match as well, so I don't want to leave them out. But obviously the main event for Ring of Honor is Claudio and Jericho. So you would assume that Wheeler and Garcia will not touch a ton here. And, does then Claudio pin Jake Hager to protect kind of everyone else in this match? Or is it Garcia pinning Yuta, Hager pinning Yuta, whatever? I think no matter what, Claudio's not getting pinned. But I'm just looking at your guys' chat here. So, I am curious. Yeah, that is, as DK pops out here. Is anyone in the chat ordering the ROH pay-per-view? So I'll get peek behind the curtain. Zach and I were gonna try and do a live stream. He still might. I have a shoot job function that I have to go to that I'll not be able to watch live. So I'll probably order it and watch it later. But I'm curious on people on the stream. Obviously, you're smart individuals for being here with me, and you all make me smarter, and you all love wrestling. Obviously, if you're here to chat with me and the others here, but if there's 20% of the chat is going to be ordering this, I think that's not a very good, doesn't bode well for this pay-per-view. And I'll be honest, I got the first one free through Fight. We have some connections through the Torch and Fight, and then the second one I did not pay for. So this one and DK, who asked the question, he's not ordering at that price. And Rude Dog says nope. Sean says $40 is a lot, and he's not buying it. Hazan, I want to call out what you wrote there. Don't want to blast you anymore, but hey, you're watching it. That's a good thing, man. So so I think that's also something to look for here, and we can maybe preview that a little bit. Tracy's a no as well. Property taxes and Christmas. Oh, so adult, and I know the pain. Just taxes in general. As a small business owner, this time of year is always a little dicey. So, but yeah, I think it's good to thank you everyone for sharing that. No matter what happens in this tag match, I don't think it's going to help to drive sales to the pay-per-view. It'd have to be Jericho doing something dastardly that you want Claudio then to pin him. But, does anyone think that's going to happen? Probably not. Does anyone really care about Yuta and Garcia? I think the match will be great. But, has it been sold besides, has this match had a very good story? No. Maybe they'll do that here. So, interesting to see there. As well. So I think this match, as everyone has said forever, if the major complaints in AEW are what, I don't know. I mean, obviously the booking, too many belts, BCC versus JAS, and whatever else you want to throw in there. It's been too much ROH on AEW TV, obviously. So this sort of is a amalgamation of kind of what people have not liked about AEW. For a long time. So I think that doesn't help this match as well. But I think it should be really good. And while I'm on the subject of talking Ring of Honor, because I think we'll talk about Joe a little bit later, but I will be joining Stephanie Chase tomorrow night. I don't know if it's going to be live or recorded, but around 9 o'clock Eastern, we're going to be previewing the ROH Final Battle card on on Stephanie's channel. So I will get you that exact information. I'll drop it in the chat here below or in the description. But please check us out there. And Stephanie's great, and so happy to support her in her channel. And as Tracy said, yes, Torp subscription to pay for as well. You can get a yearly. I think it's cheaper, but yes, it's that time of year. Things are always pricey. So that's that match. Unless anyone else has any ideas, I think this could go either way. But I think the main thing is Claudio doesn't get pinned, and I think the easiest way is for Claudio to pin Jake Hager. So most likely scenario, I think that's what it would be. So okay. So let's move on to another tag match. A lot of tag matches tonight. I think there's just the one. There's 1, 2, 3. So 4 listed matches. You'll have a 5th squash match. But another tag match, you got Jade and the Baddies taking on Kiera Hogan and Madison Rayne and Sky Blue. As I said at the top, not Sky Blue and Madison Rayne have not been the most winning team in AEW history. So does not bode well for Kiera Hogan. I think, you put her in that babyface sympathy spot. And this I'm on the slightly intrigued side for, more so than the previous tag match, because at least they're trying to tell a story here. Now, do we kind of miss a beat from A to B? We saw Hogan get fired by Mark Sterling. And then on the next episode of Dynamite, Jade is yelling at Red Velvet and Gray for hanging out with Hogan. It would have been nice to have seen that. You all are you're cracking me up. Okay, but I think there's at least a story being told here, and it's all about Jade, right? Who I think is a big star. Is this where Bow Wow comes in? God, I hope not. That might be the big angle that is alluding to. I think you said that facetiously, but maybe not. Maybe you're dead serious. But yeah, does Bow Wow come in and cause some issue, which I think would be a big thumbs down. But really, at least they're telling a story with Jade at this moment, which I like. And it's not all about her record. It's a story about whatever. So, I think I have to be on the side of they're attempting to tell a story. I'm going to wait and see it out. And I'm glad they're at least telling a story with somebody. And it's not just person with a belt. Hey, let's fight, because everyone's got a belt in this company. So that's why I'm being a little more lenient on it than what it can be. But I think you all are on the right page, especially with Bow Wow. I mean, Rude Dog coming in here, Bow Wow might be the jump the shark moment for some AEW viewers. It certainly was for me last week. I mean, I'm still here talking about it. I'm going to watch it tonight. But man, it's just so just low bar. It brings Jade down to bring in a celebrity like him. And he's from Columbus. I'm from Columbus. We're both Columbus natives. So and that takes a lot for me to take down someone there. So we'll see. I see Jade and the Baddies taking out Hogan and company because lose, and that is totally fine. We'll see if Bow Wow comes in. I think it maybe ideally be more of like Red Velvet or Gray having sympathy for Hogan at some point, and Jade then beating up her teammate and then pinning Hogan and just showing her dominance is, I think, the easy story to tell here without Bow Wow. Makes Jade seem unbeatable, that she's beating people on her own team up and then pinning someone else in the other team, and it doesn't affect her in one way, shape, or form. And all these people are low card as well. So I spent a lot of time on that, but I think it's something to look out for. And just storytelling with Jade, I think, has been lacking. I think her star power has superseded a lot of stuff here, and I'm glad that they're trying to do that here. So, okay, so we got both those tag matches down. Let's do the third match, which I think is the main event. It's hard. I'm curious what you guys think is the main event, because obviously Acclaimed versus FTR is a huge match. But I also think Joe and Darby feels like what Tony Khan would book as a main event if you watch a lot of Dynamite. Obviously, he likes Joe in that spot, and it feels like that can be a tighter 15-minute match that if the show runs long as it tends to do, if this starts at 9, 47, then Darby can go in and lay it on his head a couple times and make it feel like a main event that was worth it, while Joe hits a muscle buster at 9:58, stands strong, sells the pay-per-view. You want to sell that pay-per-view. And as far as maybe I'm off here again, I'm a little late. FTR have a match on the ROH pay-per-view. If they do, please let me know in the chat. But if not, Joe does. And that's going to wait to, you got to see this guy fight again on Saturday. So we'll see. But so let's talk Joe and Darby, because I think the other match is more significant, especially with everything going on with FTR and Dax, deleting tweets, all that sort of stuff, which I think is more for talking tomorrow with Zach to delve into that a little bit more. So, yeah. Okay. Thank you, Tracy. No match for FTR on the pay-per-view, which is obviously says a lot here, and you can, connect the dots there. But Joe and Darby. So great match. DK on Twitter asked myself and Zach today if you guys want to search my Twitter, which is right there, or DK's or Zach's. You'll see them all there. But he has kind of our opinions of Darby and is he the modern day Spike Dudley? Zach and I both had him higher than that. I think that's Darby's floor as a professional wrestler, is just kind of that stuntman and hangman. I said it like JR there. And I think his high levels are a guy you can build around that we saw early on in AEW's history, taking on Cody, being TNT champion, etc. And, right now he's in this sort of spot where he's kind of in the spot like I talked about with Ruby Soho, who, kind of come back as a fan favorite, but you can put in a title match and they're going to lose, but it's still going to be, it's a good for the champion to get a good win against someone that we respect as an audience. So not the most ideal spot for him there, but yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I think, Joe's got to win clean. He's got a match against Juice on Saturday. Juice Robinson, that is, if you're not aware of that. But and so he's got to win here. Should be a good match. Darby will look like $1 million in a loss. And I think that's okay, but at some point he's got to switch off of his relationship with Sting. I said this from the beginning, and I was wrong. Be clear to admit that when he first teamed with Sting, I thought it was a disastrous idea that Sting didn't have it anymore. What was the point? And obviously it's been a great run, but I think Darby now as a character, and if you're Tony Khan, you should think about this as well, is this the max I'm going to get out of this Darby character? Is he buddies with Sting and that's his character? Because if you're on year 3 and 4 and 5, and that's your character, that's fine. But you're kind of, getting into the Xavier Woods zone of could you, I think we could all see obviously Kofi and Big E being single stars, but I think it's harder to see a guy like Xavier being a world champion or a singles guy, right? He's just so ingrained in that New Day thing. And that's not the greatest analogy of all time, just kind of what I came off with off the top of my head. But just you're in that danger zone of pigeonholing him as the legends teammate, right? If Sting goes away, then it is what it is. So, not to do a whole diatribe here on Darby, but that's kind of where I am. And I've liked all of it, but if you want him to be more than that, obviously he's going to lose tonight, but you have to make a concerted effort to get him away from Sting, and at least having the match every pay-per-view, knowing you can just lean on that. You have a tournament and you have a Sting and Darby tag match for every pay-per-view. You got to get away from that if you want to build him up as more. So curious to see if that is the case. If not, then yeah, he's like a elevated Spike Dudley. So, which is not a bad place to be either, but just interesting there. So yeah, I mean, you guys I haven't been reading the chat, but you guys are popping off. So appreciate that. But just going through that. Well, good thing Zach from Texas not here. Daniel, as I pop up your thing here. Dixie Carter Mixon. I had in my report last week had said the MJF stuff felt like the some TNA level stuff, and that was brought with some pushback, but not as much as I would have thought. So I guess some of us are on the same page with that. But okay, so Joe wins. We think. Do we think it made events? Question mark. If anyone has an opinion one way or the other, I think he does because he's on the show and FTR is not. If I did not confirm if I did not finish that point that I had asked about earlier. That's why I think this main event's shorter match, and he's on there. So let's go to what will probably open the show based on what we have here. We could always have the Claudio Yuta match open as well, but I think this could also be bridging the 8 to 9 o'clock hour. Is here for the Acclaimed and FTR, but big match, right? And FTR is not on the show so far Saturday. Dax has been tweeting and deleting tweets about CM Punk and the company and et cetera, and Regal and all that stuff, right? So it seems pretty obvious they're leaving at some point, and whatever happened, I'm sure we'll get all the info. You guys tend to know more about this stuff than I do when we're talking about it here, but I think FTR not long for AEW. Go home to Papa H and go from there. I'm curious, are they the Revival when they come back, or are they FTR? Because I don't think AEW owns FTR. I'd be very curious about that. But and I was on here trying to say it's a big night for FTR. Could be their last time on AEW. Maybe that's a big night. If he's saying that way, I'm just not hoping for that. But it seems like that. Obviously, the lack of their use. Dax on Twitter, lots of other things coming into play here. Seems like this is not a very good situation between management and FTR, and after all the stuff at All Out. So I think it opens, or is the 8 to 9 o'clock bridge match. I think, as Rude Dog said here, I think it'll be a screwy finish. You probably have Daddy Ass doing something like we saw with Swerve in our Glory and getting win, which I think would constitute alarm bells for me from the booking of the Acclaimed as baby faces, to have almost all their big matches go that way, win in underhanded ways because of their manager, friend, whatever you want to call Billy Gunn. So I hope that doesn't happen, but that seems the most likely action here. And I was reading your comments here. Someone else run up by the elite. Yeah, potentially. And as Daniel says here, contracts aren't up until April. So thank you. I wasn't sure if it was January or April. So yeah, they're still in Tony Khan jail, as you said. So we'll see. Maybe like William Regal, they have some crazy out in a multi-year contract that they can get out of early. It seems like AEW contracts are somehow ironclad and somehow not ironclad, depending on who you are. And I guess your how you are there. So but yeah, so that's the card. Again, I think Acclaimed win, but I think a wrestling medium heavy card, which I think is good. I think you'll have the John Moxley will have some backstage video after the first match where he's talking about Paige. Maybe him and Paige have a face-to-face in the ring, and then MJF will have, again, I think, a recap of Regal having a promo filmed. Maybe he was even filmed last week, talking about why he took out Regal, and then referencing he's going off to, greener grass, and he might see him in the future, and I'm going to beat you up there. I think that's the angle he goes, which again is just like the more negative. That's like the worst promo I could think of to do for his character. So I think that's what's going to happen, because he's kind of been leaning on his what's bad for his character long term, in my opinion, recently. So we'll see that. But if there's anything else I have missed on what has been hyped on the show, please let me know in the comments, because if not, I'm going to sign off shortly. But I'm going to go through your guys' chats, see if there's anything else. Yeah, as Sean says, the show doesn't feel big. I agree. Typically, I know at least one or two matches that are coming in, and even that Acclaimed FTR, I forgot about until I looked up, because it was, announced on Rampage, and Rampage feels like a pocket universe in my own life personally, and within AEW. So, yeah, it's on. I'm curious what the chat would think about this as well. Do championships really mean? What do they mean in today's age? Do they mean anything? All companies, not just AEW. And I think it's like it almost always has been. It's who has the belt makes it, right? I don't know whether Hulk Hogan in 1996, right, having the belt and being the most dastardly, devious bastard in New York City, doesn't you want him to lose that belt, and that belt means something because you want it off of him so bad, as opposed to, Jeff Jarrett having it 17 times in 99, 2000. You don't really care about it because it's just who the person having the belt makes the belt. And it's not just one time. It's at all times with the belt. Roman Reigns, whether you like the story or not, whoever wins that belt off him is going to feel monumental. And that is Roman and the booking doing it more than the belt. And and it's also in wrestling, as you guys are talking here. Like even in football, you have a champion once a year for the whole sport. In all those sports, you have like that. In UFC and MMA, you might, if you're a champion, you might fight 3 times in a whole year. So that makes things feel special. But when you have defending titles multiple times a year, it just feels watered down because of the nature of the thing. And one thing I forgot about the Dynamite Diamond Ring Battle Royale. It said that they're going to announce more names. So I thought this match was taking place on this episode. Is that the case, chat? Again, I popped right on when I got home. Or is that on Winter's Coming, because the winner of that match gets to fight MJF for the right to have the diamond ring and then maybe get a title opportunity, I think is the way it goes there. But and Hazan, you should work for AEW because yes, Sean Dean winning tonight and taking on MJF would be, I think, fantastic. It would help the heel character tremendously for MJF to just destroy him after he's beaten him twice and is a fan favorite. So love that booking. I will accept nothing else but that booking. And that's where I stand there. So that puts us about 32 minutes, everybody. So on that, I'm going to go. I appreciate all of you. I could talk forever with you guys. You guys are great. I hope you enjoy tonight's episode. Please join us tomorrow on this channel for Fireside Chat. Should be good. There's always stuff to talk about after Dynamite. There was, interesting stuff on Raw that some I liked, some I did not, but we'll save that for that. And then please, tomorrow on the show, I'll drop Stephanie's info. You can check me out on her channel as we preview Final Battle. So thank you, and I will catch you all on the flip side.